in the second section of our 90-day sprint group. This is days 31 through 60. And you guys crushed the first 30 days. You did really well. Some of you were motivated from seeing some outcomes, and that probably really motivated you and inspired you. And that's great. And if you didn't see outcomes yet, it is okay. I say it once and I'll say it over and over again. This is a process, and the process and journey is what it's about. To embrace it, to be okay with it, to be good with it, to accept it as that is what it is the process and the journey. It's not the quick fix. It's not the quick guess. It's not nothing in life that is quick ever is sustaining or good. And embracing that mindset is super duper duper important. So I would like you guys to just take a quick minute and a half for 1 second to entertain something for me. Just think about what your why is. Why are you doing this? Okay. And even just close your eyes, enter like that space of really thinking about your vision board. Everybody has a different why. There's not a right or wrong answer. People are driven and pulled by different things and their gifts and their talents and who they are. Maybe your why, and I will tell you, your why will change as time goes on. In the beginning, my why was to feel better. Then my why was to be able to continue the products because I was a stay-at-home mom. Then my why was, well, that was pretty simple and it's helping people. Maybe I could help because we have a very high deductible and our insurance is not great. Maybe I can continue with this. And it changed and it evolved and it went on and it's grown. And my why is huge now. But I want you to put up front and center, either in a picture that you draw, in words that you make. It doesn't matter what you do, but write down your heart's influence right now towards whatever your why is, remembering there is no wrong answer. We'll just take 1 minute to do that. Okay, yeah, and your heart's influence, that just means like in the depths of your soul or your being, especially if you're a feeler, that will resonate with you. Like, what drives your heart as to why you're doing this? Not everybody is emotionally driven like I am. And so you might just have a real cognitive thought of why you're doing this. And that's okay. It's just how God made us all different, and it's totally fine. So whatever your why is, maybe it's a heart-driven why, like, and I don't mean like good heart, bad heart. I mean like emotionally driven why, like a passion and a feeling, like, oh, I just need to do this and see this happen. Or maybe it's a cognitive, thought-based reason why that drives you. Write down whatever that is, okay? That drives you and moves you and motivates you. Does anybody want to share what that is? You don't have to share, but I just thought I would ask. If you do, you can unmute and then mute again.
So Kimberly, my why, and this is why like I was taking the products first. And then I began to realize like how it helped me, and that drove me to want to help others. So my why for really being in this business is wanting to help people heal, because I feel like once I can show them how they're supposed to feel, that in return will eventually grow my business. So my why is to help heal others.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's awesome. That's really, really good.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to share? You don't have to. This is not, it's okay if you don't.
For mine, I put my kids are a big driver for me because when I got sick, oh my gosh, over 10 years ago, I didn't have a lot of energy to do anything. So my driver's a lot with my kids that because I feel better, I'm able to be out and about with them. And my most current one is I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck and continually worrying about if I'm going to have money for milk. So that's kind of what started the next step for me.
Okay, good. That's really good. And the more clear you are and the more visible, intangible, and written down it is, the better. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I'm going to attempt to share it with an audio right now of something that I want you to watch. It's 10 minutes long. I want you to focus and have your cameras on and listen really stinking intently because Brandy and I both watched it this morning and it is freaking fantastic. It's going to blow your socks off. So we want you to watch this. I'm going to attempt to share the audio from my computer and the video, but I've never done this before. So as I share, I have my other phone on right now too, so I can see your faces because I won't be able to see from this when I'm sharing. But if you can hear it, I want you to give me a thumbs up so I know. Otherwise, I'm going to have to play it from my other device. Okay? Okay, hold on one second.
Small and don't let anybody tell you you should be small.
See, in your life, you're going to get what you tolerate.
Most people never take the time to take an inventory about their thoughts, yet our thoughts control our world. Look, I feel like most people in their lives are being allowed to live small. You're allowed to live a small life. Everyone around you would like you to live small. Just do this. You're good at that. Man, take it easy. Chill. When's enough enough? Like, come on, brother. You know where we all these messages you get is basically saying, hey, man, live small. Yeah. Life's not a big deal. Live small, enjoy it, chill, smoke a little weed, do whatever you want, right? Like, it's just this get by thing in life. And there's got to be some people who go, no. No, you're supposed to do something great with your life. You were put here for a purpose. Your way, the way you were born, the way you were raised, your background, your experiences, your giftedness all prepared you in your way for right now. And you're supposed to do something great with your life. You weren't born here to be average and ordinary. And there's all this messaging that you're average and ordinary, and you're average and ordinary because you belong there, and it's probably someone else's fault you're average and ordinary too. And I'm like, no, it's your life. You're in control. It's no one else's fault, and you're supposed to do something magnificent. That's the consciousness aspect. The last 1,000 years on Earth, doing something great has been reserved to this one little group of people, 1% of the population. They're supposed to do something great. They're supposed to live their dreams. We're supposed to watch them, cheer for them, wear their jersey, watch their award show, comment on their posts, clean their houses, right? Feed them in their restaurants. No. The fact of the matter is you can do those things. You can change your life. And I'm sick and tired of this hero worship. You live small, cheer for everybody else who lives big. No, if you're a school teacher, be the best damn school teacher. Change the world by those little lives you're affecting. If you're on social media, change the world. Play big. You will never do it wrong if your decision is to do the bigger thing than the smaller thing. That's what I would tell you. Stop playing small. Stop thinking small, and don't let anybody tell you you should be small.
See, in your life, you're going to get what you tolerate. Stop tolerating for these people who have believed in you all your life an inferior life for you. Stop allowing God to bless you and give you all this giftedness and opportunity and settle and tolerate less. For those babies that are sitting here with you, your children and grandchildren, stop being willing to tolerate less for them. Don't tolerate it anymore. Yeah, you got to give it your best, but it starts with making a decision that this is over. I don't tolerate this life anymore. Pretty good's not good enough for my family. Pretty good's not good enough for my grandmother. Pretty good's not good enough for my grandpa, my parents, my future children. Pretty good ain't going to get it done for this family. Now, I hope you hear them whispering to you, he's right. You can do this. You're great. You're special. You were born for a reason. I hope you can feel that. Life's going to give you ultimately what you'll fight for.
I've been getting asked lately about the struggles people are going through with self-doubt, not believing in themselves, negative thoughts about themselves. And I believe the solution to self-doubt is to build something bigger than that doubt, which is to build our self-confidence. And one thing to know about the fact that you doubt yourself is, one, I struggle with it as well. One of the reasons I've had to go learn to build all these tools for myself is because in my life, my baseball career, my academic career, my business career, my speaking career, I've been riddled with self-doubt. That creeps up all the time in our lives. Am I enough? Am I good enough? You weren't born doubting. You weren't born discouraged. You weren't born thinking negative things about yourself. Those were thoughts that were placed in you and given to you by an external source at some time in your life. It could even be our parents. Don't do that. Be quiet. Sit down. Be a good boy. Be a good girl. Maybe it was criticism you received as a little one that you may not even remember to this day. The process of building self-confidence is actually very easy, believe it or not. Self-confidence is self-trust. Self-confidence is building a reputation with yourself that you keep your word to you, that you keep the promises you make to you. When I meet somebody who has a ton of self-confidence, I don't look at that as somebody with a big ego. There's a difference. Somebody with self-confidence has a reputation with themselves that I do the things I say I'm going to do. That's where self-confidence comes from. When I meet someone who is not self-confident, I know this is someone who has consistently made promises to themselves they've not kept. They've started a diet and done it for a while but not kept it. They've made a commitment and goals to go make a certain amount of money in business, and they started down the road but then they didn't deliver on it long term, to get up at a certain time in the morning and then they don't do it. And so they have a process and a habit in their life more often than not of not keeping the promises they don't make to other people. They don't keep the promises they make to themselves. And so the cool thing is, self-confidence is an internal game. You do not need external accolades, external admiration in order to build self-confidence. You don't need any of those external forces. It's all done internally. You control this. And you control this by beginning today to keep the promises you make to yourself. And you have to stack the deck in your favor. Stack the game so you win. It's not good enough just to keep the promises you make to yourself. You must acknowledge it when you do it to you to give yourself credit to create confidence momentum, is what I call it. So whether that's setting the deck where you're going to get up a little bit earlier, you're going to make a certain amount of phone calls you miss, a certain amount of appointments, you're going to eat a certain amount of calories in your fitness, you're going to spend a certain amount of time with your children or your parents, and you begin to do these things you say you're going to do. You say simple things like, I'm going to lay out my clothes the night before I go to bed every night, before I go to sleep, so when I wake up that decision's made for me. And believe it or not, the fact that you just do something that simple that you then deliver on begins to build confidence. So you say, I'm going to stretch in the morning when I get up, and you do it. All of a sudden, I'm not going to check my phone for 30 minutes. All these habits I teach, when you just begin to do the things you tell yourself you're going to do, you begin to build self-confidence, which is this reputation with yourself. So ask yourself a question right now. What is one thing right now, one promise I can make to myself that I'm going to begin to keep starting this minute? And begin to do it. It could be how often I'm going to pick up a book and read it. But you begin to stack things you commit to do, and then you deliver on them and you acknowledge them to yourself. You're in the process of building self-confidence. Why is that so important? Of all the athletes I coach, when my athletes are performing at their peak level, they're at their highest self-confidence level. In fact, I love when I watch some of the athletes I coach get interviewed and they kind of do this aw shucks, humble routine in their post-game interviews. Yeah, just part of the team, I got a lot, I could have done a lot better today. But inside, I know these people are incredibly self-confident people. Any of you athletes listening to this, you know this. The great athletes you know have incredible amounts of self-confidence. You have to believe in you when it's a battle, when you're a hitter against a pitcher, or when you're a quarterback against a defense, or you're a defenseman in the NHL against their best offensive player, or you're a golfer and you have to make a 9-foot putt to win a tournament, right? You better have self-confidence. In fact, the separator separator more often than not at the highest level in sports is not they're a better shooter or a better putter or throw the ball a little bit faster, because everybody throws hard in the major leagues nowadays, it seems, right? That separator is their self-confidence. It's true in being a parent. It's true in being a business person. It's true in every area of our life. The separator at the top levels is self-confidence. I had to learn to recruit and build a team. I'm literally a broke man financially if I did not build a team of people. So I had to learn to motivate and inspire and teach and all those things in building a team. This house is built by that team. My lake house built by that team. The jets, all those things are built by the team that I built. And so I learned early on in collaborating. So then when I went into the personal development space, I knew I had to collaborate. So I sought out the right people to build my support team around me, their audiences. You know, I do their show, they do my show, posting, etc., just like what we're doing right now. And so I believe everything in business nowadays is team. There's a misnomer that someone is self-made. Right? There's all these people out there that are working out of their homes right now. You cannot name a single successful human being in the history of mankind who didn't build a team. Jesus Christ built a team. He built a team. He had his apostles for a reason. That was his frontline team. And then they built the team. There's nobody ever in life who has built anything extraordinary with their life alone. Ever, period. You must collaborate. You must build a team. Even the greatest religions in the world were all built by teams of people. So clearly you in your living room right now need to seek out some help, some teammates, and some collaboration.
Do you ever think about what you think about? Because if you did, and if you took control of that, you could alter the direction of your entire life. Most people never take the time to take an inventory about their thoughts, yet our thoughts control our world. Our thoughts are like magnets. They literally draw towards us that which we obsess about. And so most people never take the time to analyze what they think about. The most successful people I know are the most self-aware, meaning they're aware of what they do, and they're also aware of what they think. They're aware of how they're perceived. Average person, you and I, have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds, 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we've identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about, and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. And if you're new here,
Okay, can you guys hear me again? Okay, so now I'm going to try to screen share something else, but this time you should be able to hear me because there is volume within it. This is actually the part that Brandy was going to do, but she's not here, so I don't know if you guys all caught that. She's actually, her little guy hurt himself on the playground, so he's getting a cast right now, but that's okay. So we are, let me see if I can find what it is that I wanted to show you. Where'd it go? Hold on. I gotta find my Canva. So I made you guys a presentation. Otherwise, I did screenshot it if we can't find it. So hold on. Oh, there we go. Now, how do I see you at the same time as showing you this? I'm gonna have to look at my other phone for Zoom here. Can you guys see the screen? Can you see this? It says like, what is your why? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna just look at you this way because I don't know how to make it. That's the last thing I have to figure out is figure out how to see my screen while seeing you guys at the same time would be fantastic. So, okay, we talked about what is your why, what is the reason why you're doing what you're doing and why it is that you're here. And it is so important to get crystal clear on that, to make it vision, to have it a picture of it. And if it changes and evolves, like be aware of that, because it really will and should, because people's needs and spaces they're in life changes as time goes on, right? And that's okay and healthy and normal. So one of my favorite things that he talked about in the video was that we were not born doubting. When I read that, it really resonated for me. Or when I heard that, like we came out of our mother's womb, right? And we did not have a sense of, oh my gosh, like insecurity. Am I good enough? Am I enough? Am I qualified? Is it going to be okay if I, drink from this bottle? Is it okay if I sleep in this bed? Oh my goodness, like is the baby mobile going to fall on my head? We didn't have those kinds of insecurities and thoughts and fears and worries because we were little babies that we were just born trusting. And we just knew that we were well secure and we felt taken care of. We were not born that way. We were not intended to be that way. We were intended to be secure and safe in all of our strengths and all of our gifts that we were born with. And we were meant in a perfect world to develop them and to flourish them and develop ourselves within them, to be able to move forward and help other people within that. But sadly, with the sin on this earth, as we go through life, thoughts creep in, right? Like maybe mom said, I know, I could tell you my fears, right? Mine was, you don't pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And this is something Brienne went over with me. When I was little, I had ADD really bad. And so I legit, and you guys may have heard me talk about this before, I legit could not pay attention. It wasn't a choice. I didn't have the tools to do it. I was not the hyperactive child, so nobody could tell that I couldn't focus because I wasn't getting up and scrolling around, right? But I couldn't focus when I would read. I couldn't pay attention. And so when I had those stories, what happened first, what happened second, what happened third, what happened fourth, what happened fifth, I could always tell you the main idea of the story. I could tell you the lesson to be learned, the big picture. I could tell you the beginning and I could tell you the end. But all the details in the middle, it was like a big salad mixed up in my head. And I would get them all wrong. And even though I was a very bright little girl and I got really good grades on my report card and I was really smart and I had gifts and talents, all I could see was that big fat red F on my paper. And that is why, honestly, I became a teacher, because my teacher would say to me, why don't you pay attention? Pay attention. Pay attention when you're reading. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Just do it. And I didn't have the words when I was little, but now looking back, how I felt was, well, if I could pay attention, I would pay attention. I'm doing all that it is that I know what to do with what I have as a little 8-year-old kid, right? I couldn't. So I heard, you don't pay attention. You don't focus. And it caused a really bad narrative in my head that honestly, I just feel like in the last couple of years that I've worked through, because I didn't think I could do Plexus because I'm not strategic. I don't pay attention. I can't focus. How can I help other people be strategic if I'm not strategic? Those are the narratives I was telling myself. I wasn't born with those. That's what I heard and carried with me all of those years. So you know what you need to do? You need to build something bigger than whatever it is that your doubts is, because our doubts and our insecurities and our confidence struggles are all unique and different. Being really self-aware of them is really important so that you can reframe them and not have them govern whatever your actions are going to be, because we don't need to be doubting ourselves, right? If we're spending our time doubting ourselves and dwelling on our insecurities and feeling bad about it, we are not living God's best for ourselves, and we're not letting our gifts and talents flourish, not just in Plexus, but in life, in the way that they're supposed to be lived out for others, right, in this world. So Okay, the next one. And this is the part that Brandy was really going to talk on. She is fantastic at this area. So building your self-confidence, how do you do it? Okay, because that really is the key in being successful in this. You have your why, you have your vision, and we're talking a little bit today about our goals, because in the video, the speaker was talking about how we play small on our goals. Oftentimes we don't dream big enough. And I will tell you, I am guilty of this just as much as the next person. I hit Emerald and I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like, that's fine. I'm secure. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. Well, when you stay in a spot, it's not a matter of gratitude that you're there. But if I stay in my spot, what does that say about the level of others I'm helping rise? I'm worried more about my so-called humility that I am about other people having their goals met through the freedom of their paychecks and visions happen, right? And I'm real sensitive to that because humility is super important to me. So it took a lot of work for me to realize that. And I was afraid. I don't want to go on a stage and talk to people. Like, that's not my thing. I don't like attention brought to myself. I'm very social, but it's in small settings and one-on-one, and I don't want any of that. But if I'm not willing to do what is asked of me and what my talents and my gifts are, I can't help others, or I'm at the best case scenario, I'm limited on how I help them. So I have to get over that, and I have to dream bigger. I have to dream to sapphire. Maybe you need to dream to gold, or to senior gold, or to ruby, or to senior ruby. Don't just say to yourself, you guys, that you want to recruit 3 people this month and grow by 25 points. You were made for more than that. And when you say that, your brain is trying to keep you safe. And I know, because I've been there, you don't want to feel disheartened and discouraged by an unmet goal. But let me tell you, you arise or fall to the level of your lowest goal. So if your goal this month is sponsor 3 and grow by 25 points, that is the most you will do, because that's all your brain will allow you to do. Okay. So if you really want to grow by 50 points, okay, say I'm going to go for 6 recruits, because if you want to go for 3, you're just going to get 3. If you want to go for 6, sponsor and inspire and breathe hope into 6 people, go for 6. Maybe you'll get 4. Maybe you'll get 5, but you'll get more than 3 if you go for 6, right? And it's not about not hitting your goal, as long as you're not emotionally attached to it. If you don't hit it, it doesn't mean you're a loser. It doesn't mean you're an idiot. It doesn't mean anybody doesn't like you and people are ignoring you, or any of those ridiculous stories we tell ourselves. We all do it. It doesn't mean any of that. But it does mean you achieved more than you did last month. And it means you achieved more than your lowest level goal. So set it higher, because God made you equipped with whatever your gifts and talents are. And they're all different, right? And that's why I'm going to start encouraging more of us doing some of these calls and more of us doing the events, so that all our gifts and talents can kind of come together and flourish with, togetherness, because we're all needed, all of our gifts, right? So you are going to build your self-confidence. And when your confidence is higher, then you're going to make your goals higher, because you will have more belief. Now, how do you get that belief? Hear me loud and clear on how you get that belief. You're not going to feel it. I went to therapy 6 years ago through trauma that I endured in my family. And the biggest thing that the therapist told me, one of the first things he said, is tell yourself the truth in your mind all the time, and your body will follow. Because I was really sick. And I'd never heard that before. And it is the truth. So tell yourself the truth. That is how you build your self-confidence, by keeping your promises to yourself. If you have told yourself that you are going to get up at 6 a.m, get up at 6 in the morning. How do you keep your promise to yourself? By remembering your why. Why are you doing it? And if your why doesn't get you out of bed, then you need a bigger one. Okay. So how do you keep your promise to yourself? I promise that I'm going to sponsor and influence and help 6 people this month. How do I do that? By doing my everyday, my winning day done every single day. Well, 5 days out of 7, right? By keeping that promise and doing it well and not allowing myself to skip in spaces, but by doing it every day. Because when you build self-confidence and build a relationship with yourself and you build trust within yourself and you learn to trust yourself, you're going to grow and believe. And when you grow and you believe, you can aim for higher goals because you'll trust that you'll do the actions to get yourself there. Okay. So confidence is, this is truly what it is. Building a reputation with yourself that you keep your word to. And you guys can screenshot these too if it helps. Confidence is building a reputation with yourself that you keep your word to. That's how it's developed. So somebody that has a lot of insecurities or a lot of lack of self-confidence, basically what that means is that they haven't kept promises to themselves. They've made promises to themselves and they've broken them. And that's not a shame thing, right? It's just what's happened. I mean, I've done it a million and 10 times with getting up at 5:30. And now I realize it's got to be a higher why to get me up at 5:30. Why do I want to get up at 5:30? Why do you want to go to Senior Gold? Why do you want to get to Ruby? What is it about? Okay. And then keep the promises to get yourself there. Okay. It's an internal game every single time. Your confidence is not about the external world. Now, your thoughts can be influenced by the external world, by what people say to us, by how people interact with us, by people unfriending us or unfollowing us or ignoring us. Sure, we're humans. That's going to influence what we think, which influences how we feel, which influences how we act. But when we're strong and we know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we're following through on ourselves, we then are aware when this happens. So when I'm aware that, oh my gosh, this person that I really like, she didn't come and sit by me at the baseball game. This mom, like, oh my gosh, like she probably totally doesn't like me. She's so annoyed by my Plexus post, right? If I allow myself to keep ruminating on that and thinking about that, it could influence how I feel, which would influence how I act, which would determine my outcome, which would solidify my insecurities, and it would keep repeating. So instead, circumstance, right? Just like the thought model from before, circumstance, mom comes by me at the baseball game, she doesn't sit by me. I could have the thought, and it might pop in my head, oh my gosh, she totally doesn't like me. She's annoyed by Plexus, blah, blah, blah. But I catch myself in that moment and I change that thought. The truth is, she might have been having a bad day and it might have nothing to do with me why she didn't sit by me. Maybe she wanted a quiet space by herself. Maybe she had a catastrophe happen in her life and she didn't want to talk to anybody. Maybe she's waiting for her mom to show up and her mom doesn't like being around other people. There could be a million reasons why, and we have got to get comfortable and really good at catching ourselves and not allowing thoughts that are not serving us to control our feelings and actions. We have to get really good at catching them and then really good at reframing them and really good at showing up for ourselves so that we can show up and be our best for others. Okay, so that's where it takes me into the thoughts. Successful people manage their thoughts. They are self-aware. They are aware of how they think, what they do, and how they're perceived. And you can do that really, really well if you don't allow yourself to get into a shame cycle. Because the reality is, just like every baby that's walking is going to fall, every kid that is learning to add is going to go, oh shoot, like I didn't do it right. Or they're learning to multiply and they get the process wrong. Everybody is going to do things incorrectly, be perceived in a wrong way, not have good thoughts at some points. Everybody is there, and it doesn't mean anything about you. It just means you're a human. So be aware of it in a non-judgy way, catch it and flip it. Okay. So if you're feeling that you're stressed out and you're on a rampage of messaging a whole bunch of people, hey, I want to do plexus, hey, I want to do, you could think to yourself, well, you know, I'm not going to be perceived very about the other person if I'm not being warm and relational and I'm not asking them about themselves in a kind and loving way. Okay. So just be aware of how, not insecure, not doubtful, but just be aware and show up in action the way that you want others to receive you. Now, you're not responsible for how others receive you, but do the actions that could, that can best manage it through your actions. Okay, life will give you what you fight for. Life will give you exactly what it is you fight for. So play big, decide to be great, play big. That's exactly what I was talking about in those goals and setting those goals, making sure they're big enough. Don't play safe because of insecurity or even because of reality. You might think you're being realistic, but your reality and being realistic could actually hold somebody's optimism back. Because if you think you can only grow by 20 points, 25 points, not that 25 or 20 points isn't great, but if you're limiting yourself, what if somebody else's unconscious goal is 50 points underneath your team, but they don't believe they can get there and they're leaning on you to help them see it? You're not going to help them see it because you're holding yourself back unconsciously because you only want to unconsciously grow by 20 points, right? Don't limit yourself. Don't limit your team. Don't underestimate your gifts and your capabilities and the amount that you are intended to bless other people. Okay, keep promises you made to yourself. I talked about that a lot. Number 4, collaborate. I loved that. He talked about that in the video, and I didn't make a slide on this one, but I absolutely love it. I will say it once and I'll say it a million times. We are not meant to go at it alone at anything. Okay. A lot of times high achievers or firstborn babies be stuck on this one, or ones that had the hold and pull the weight in their family as the responsible one. It is not your job to do everything by yourself. We are not that awesome, right? Nobody, like, we are all needed. You cannot, as much as I like mashed potatoes, I cannot eat mashed potatoes and only mashed potatoes the rest of my life. As much as I love, what vegetable do I like? Cheesy broccoli, right? As much as I love cheesy broccoli, if that's all I eat the rest of my life, I will be deficient in calcium and deficient in other areas. We were designed and made to be in community and fellowship and love and connection with each other. That's what it's for. And you're worth that, and your team is worth it. So, and I loved the message that he said about Jesus having like the apostles, and that can go with everything. Like, he's Jesus Christ, for crying out loud, and he has all these helpers, right? And look at anybody. Like, we don't need to get into a political conversation, but the president of the United States needs helpers, right? The doctors, they need nurses. You know, anything in history that has ever been done well and ever been done historically successful and well is always done with a group of collaboration, right? So what does that mean? That means that you're all here, first of all, so that's awesome. But you guys are worth having people with you on this journey. You're worth it, and they're worth it to show them what they don't see. Having other people run with you, not presenting it just once and then allowing our insecurities to take over and our lack of belief and our lack of confidence to take over. Make the promise you keep to yourself and grow on that belief and implement those three-way conversations while you're growing your belief to tell them what the value is in this company, in this business opportunity, and why it's so important and what it can do for them, because they can't see it. They're going to be in doubt because they don't see it, and they need you to show them. And they might need you to show them like 25 million times, right? And that's okay. I took a while. In fact, Brandy got me to keep on going a lot of the times because I was like, I don't know why you're making me do this with you. I never signed up for this part. She's like, Kimmy, we're doing it. And if we look back into college, she was the president of the sorority and I was the activities coordinator, if you can imagine that. So I didn't see it, but she believed in me and she didn't, and she's not even my sponsor. She's like, we're doing this together. And we're just doing it together. We're going to grow together. This is going to be good. And I'm so thankful that she saw that in me that I didn't see in myself. So don't just one and done and dump them if they're not ready or telling you that they don't want to do it. There's a lot of diamonds in the company that are like, I said no for like 4 years. And so-and-so saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and kept revisiting it in different approaches and different loving ways. So collaborate. Find those business people. Make your goal big, you guys. You're going to get bigger goals by having a community and by collaborating. And then finally, managing your thoughts, which we talked about a lot before. So as we wrap up this call, I want you to now take out your little notebook, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. And I know that this is getting a little bit long. So if you have to hop off, it's okay, but come back and do this part because it is really important. And if you're able to hang on, do that. Okay. I want you to rewrite your goal now, whatever your goal is. I want you to think big for yourself. And at the end of this month and going into the holidays, where do you want to be? What does that goal look like for you? Remembering why you're here. And what is one promise that you can make to yourself today, specific to today, that you can make and keep to yourself to build your confidence because you're worth it? Okay. So I'm going to give you guys about maybe 3 minutes or 2 minutes to work on that. And then we can share and do a little bit of Q&A and move on from there. Okay, I'm going to end the recording so that you guys can work and then we can just hang on and stay on here and talk a little bit. Okay, so work on that right now. What is one promise I'm going to make and keep in my business today? And what is my new goal for myself for this month? Those 2 pieces. And if you're watching the recording back, make sure you send this specific to the 90-day group and send it back in with your notes. Okay, go ahead.